Was really something else in the NAI, and I know all across the country it looked to be in all levels of college football. Is Week 11 going to give us the same kind of feel, the same kind of excitement? We hope so. We're looking forward to a lot of it this week. Some great games on hand in NAI football, and tonight we are going to talk about the teams in the NAI that we believe have the the most real potential to make the playoff field in 2024. Hi, I'm Joey McWilliams. Glad that you are with us tonight here on Midwest Sportsnet. And please let us know from where you're watching the broadcast tonight. We would appreciate that a lot. The field, at least the potential number of teams that we believe here at Midwest Sportsnet are going to make the playoffs. There were 39 that we talked about last week. Well, things change from week to week. This week, there are only 34, and one of them we know has already made the field. Of course, that's Dickinson State, the winners of the NorthStar Athletic Association. Yeah, play NorthStar. Dickinson State's been playing NorthStar for quite a while, 10 consecutive titles. We know that Dickinson State is in. Who else can make this field? Well, we have it down to about 35% of the NAIA team. So that means 65% of the teams. Of course, you're playing games for a reason because, yeah, the season's not over with. You have to finish strong. We think there are about 35%, though, that still have a real opportunity. So let's go ahead and let's look at some of those right now. Again, thanks to everyone for watching tonight. Please let us know from where you're watching and maybe what you think your team's chances are of being in that field. So here we are. Let's go across the country. Let's start with the Sun Conference. Kaiser, we believe, really is already in. Defending national champions, made it to the NAI championship game in back-to-back seasons, 7-0 right now, and really has everything in its favor, that controlling their own destiny, as the saying goes. Kaiser, we believe, is in. However, a big game this weekend. Hey, Jeff, thanks for watching tonight from Utah. And, of course, the big Roll Stangs. We know that he's talking about Morningside. We'll get to that in the Gpac in just a moment. Kaiser's hosting Florida Memorial this weekend. Now, you see Florida Memorial there on the graphic as well right now. It's homecoming for Kaiser, 18 consecutive wins for the Seahawks, 30 consecutive regular season wins versus NAIA programs. And so Kaiser, with really pretty much everything on the line, the magic number to lock up the playoff spot for real is 1, and that would be a victory over Florida Memorial because Kaiser already has wins over Southeastern and St. Thomas. The season finale is against Ave Maria. So Kaiser at 7-0 needs this win to for sure punch a ticket to the NAIA football championship playoff field. We think they're going to do it, by the way, but Kaiser also has the track record at its hand. 4-0 all-time against Florida Memorial, won last year 4-13. St. Thomas, we have them down just a little bit of a notch there, 7-1 overall. We think the Bobcats are in very good position to make the playoffs with 2 wins, taking on a Thomas team, by the way, that St. Thomas beat last year 84-0. And so in good shape there. Probably one more win would do it for St. Thomas, number 5 in the country right now in the official NAI rankings, not ratings. And that probably is going to be enough, taking on Warner in the season finale there for Thomas. And so, for St. Thomas, the Bobcats, at least on paper, are in a very, very good position right now. The schedule was front-loaded. These 2 games on paper are not as challenging as, say, a Kaiser or a Southeastern. St. Thomas in really good position. We're not going to give them a lock just yet, but we do think that Kaiser is in position to win. And Florida Memorial, by the way, still in this, just 3-1 in Sun Conference play. A win over Kaiser on Saturday throws everything into a bit of a tizzy right there, because then there'd be a bunch of teams with 1 loss if St. Thomas wins in conference play, and it would be that round robin there among those 3 teams with Kaiser, St. Thomas, and Florida Memorial. Now, Florida Memorial right now at 5-2-1 has to get the conference championship. Will not be an at-large bid. And so this is why this is such a big, big game for Florida Memorial against Kaiser. Homecoming there for the Seahawks. We'll see how this one plays out. We think there are 3 teams with potential in the Sun Conference. Hey, Dave, thanks for watching tonight. Always good to see your name come up there. I sure do appreciate that. Let's move over to the Appalachian, where things did get thrown into a tizzy last week as Point defeated Pikeville. Pikeville with the win, the magic number was 1. Well, now it's not so much. Pikeville with a win would have taken the conference title, at least a share of the conference title, but would have locked up the playoff spot. As it stands now, Pikeville at 4-5, 4-1 overall, a bye this week. Now, it does have a half-game advantage right now in the league standings, but it's not enough. Pikeville needs to continue winning, and again, taking on Saturday, nobody. The bye week. Next week, it's St. Andrews. They're hosting St. Andrews, and the Knights this year have just not been that successful at all. That could and likely will be a game that Pikeville can put in the win column. We'll see how it works out. That means Reinhardt's still in it. Now, none of these teams have a chance for an at-large bid. And so Pikeville had everything in front of them earlier. Right now, it's dependent upon what some other teams do and what the conference does as well. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Reinhardt taking on Kentucky Christian, 8-1 all-time against Kentucky Christian. Won last year 56-0. Reinhardt in a good position there to get the win this weekend. Point taking on Union Commonwealth, and we had a chance to visit with Coach Zeiders earlier this week. Not taking anything for granted. Excited about the win against Pikeville because that means Point also has an opportunity. Now, these three teams right now with one loss apiece, right now they've all three, each one defeated the other one in that whole round robin look there. Corey from NAIA Ball presented some tiebreaker scenarios, and none of them works out just yet. So we're going to save this for a week before we talk about it too much. I have some thoughts on this, but it's generally one of those sets of thoughts that goes along the lines of, and nobody from Kansas City asked my opinion on this. So I'm going to go ahead and save that for next week just to say there are three teams with an opportunity with potential to make it out of the Appalachian Conference. It just depends on how it plays out now. No team with the upper hand at the moment. Pikeville with a half-game lead, but nothing there that's set in stone. Let's move over to the Mid-South now. Mid-South Conference, Georgetown definitely has the upper hand with a 4-0 conference record, 6-2. We think another loss, though, puts Georgetown in a tentative situation. As good as the Tigers are, on defense, 3 losses is going to be tough to get out of the Mid-South Conference this season. So Georgetown needs to win out. However, getting another victory, and especially with a win on Saturday, that would be enough. Georgetown, we believe, would be able to lock things in. Now, it's not a magic number of 1 because the schedule is backloaded for Georgetown. Georgetown is at Campbellsville this Saturday and then at Lindsey Wilson the next Saturday. So everything in front of Georgetown, win, you've got that playoff spot. But it's not going to be easy. Georgetown, by the way, against Campbellsville, this is the 35th meeting between those two programs, and the Georgetown Tigers have won 29 of the first 34, 29-5 all time. Campbellsville taking on Georgetown at home, and Campbellsville at 8-1, we believe, could afford another loss. Now, we know that Campbellsville doesn't want to take that loss and want to go ahead and win out too. But the opportunity for an at-large bid for Campbellsville is still there if things don't go their way against Georgetown on Saturday or the next week at Cumberland's. We'll see how that plays out. Lindsey Wilson could be on the outside looking in. The Blue Raiders need wins against Bethel and Georgetown, both of them at home on Saturday and the following Saturday. Bethel last year, this became a de facto playoff game last season near the end of the year. Bethel won that one 34-8. Bethel's offense of late has not been that strong, and so this could be a challenge for the Wildcats. Lindsey Wilson in a good position. Both teams, Campbellsville and Lindsey Wilson, with the one loss in conference play. Georgetown with the opportunity to move on. Let's go ahead and move on over to the Midstates, and we'll talk about the Midwest first. Realistically, St. Francis is in the best position, and St. Francis with one more win could get things taken care of. They have the inside track 3-0 in Midwest Conference play and the win over St. Francis of Illinois last week, taking on St. Xavier this week, and St. Francis 11-7 all time against St. Xavier. And then the final week of the season is at Olivet Nazarene. It could come down to that. Olivet taking on St. Francis of Illinois this week. The Olivet Nazarene Tigers need to win out to get it done. Obviously, that would take care of things from a divisional title, a conference title, if you win, to get the automatic bid. But there's no way that the Tigers are going to get an at-large bid at 5-3, especially with one more loss. That would take care of ONU right there. So St. Francis with the inside track. Realistically, both teams that are on the screen in front of you right now need to go ahead and win out for the season, and they play each other in the season finale. This could be a lot of fun. Let's move on along from the Midwest over to the Mideast. We believe Indiana Wesleyan is in. We believe that the Wildcats have locked up a playoff spot. The number 3 team in the country, according to the official NAIA rankings, not ratings there, taking on Siena Heights on Saturday. The magic number is 1 to take the Mideast title and the automatic bid as well, because Indiana Wesleyan has wins over both Taylor and Concordia, and those are the other 2 teams with only 1 loss in the division. So Indiana Wesleyan at Siena Heights this week and hosting Lawrence Tech next week. 1 win in either one of those games, and Indiana Wesleyan will get the division title. So the magic number is 1. Taylor is still holding on. And the reason we have them up there, it would be a challenge. It would take 2 Indiana Wesleyan losses and then Taylor to win at Madonna this week, which Madonna having lost 39 consecutive games. Taylor wants to be number 40 on that list to put the Crusaders in the loss column. But then Concordia in the final week of the season. If Indiana Wesleyan were to lose both games and Taylor won both games, the Trojans would take the conference title there and the automatic bid. However, if Indiana Wesleyan doesn't lose both those games, Taylor could still get in with a 9-2 record, 5-1 in Mideast play there. It wouldn't be easy. The committee might have a hard time with this, but the Trojans are starting to get some of their players back from injury, and we think that's a big deal. Ashton, we just got through talking briefly about St. Francis of Illinois. Glad that you're on tonight. I don't know that we necessarily have them into the playoff spot. We'll go ahead and go with the cough drop right now and see what we can do there. Don't want to go any further. Hey, Dale, glad that you are in as well. We have 3 Mustangs fans. So you know what? We're getting close to Mustang time here. Anyway, we believe Taylor still has an opportunity for an at-large bid. The chances to get the automatic bid are very, very slim, but the Trojans are not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. Let's move over to the Heart and the North Division. It's going to come down, I believe, to Grandview and Graceland in Des Moines on November 16th. Both of these teams with opportunities to win that conference title. Grandview 8-0. We think they're in. Midwest Sports Net prediction, Grandview's in the playoffs again. The number 2 team in the country, 58 consecutive regular season wins, 58 consecutive Heart Conference wins, not Heart North Division wins, but Heart Conference wins. Grandview, though, has a team that we didn't put on the graphic here, though, probably should have, because Peru State still with a chance to make some noise here. Peru State with just 1 loss in the Heart North, taking on Grandview on the road, at home, taking on Grandview. And the Vikings and Peru State met last year in what was an opportunity like this for Peru State. Grandview took care of business, no problem there. But Peru State could still cause some problems. We're looking at this thinking the Vikings and Graceland might be both undefeated in Heart North play heading into next week's season finale. And part of the reason for that is this the 10th meeting between Grandview and Peru State. The Vikings are 8-1 all time. As a matter of fact, the only time that Peru State has won in this series, you have to go all the way back to the very first year of play for the Grandview Vikings, and it was the season finale. Peru State came away with a 1-point victory, 18-17. That goes back to 2008. Since that time, it's been all Vikings all the time, 8-1 in the series. 10th meeting on Saturday. It is at Peru State. We think the Vikings have a really good chance, but it's no magic number there. Now, as for Graceland, the Yellow Jackets need to win. Yellow Jackets with 3 losses. I don't know that the committee would be able to look past 3 losses with Graceland over the course of the season. So the Yellow Jackets need to go ahead and get the wins both this week against Missouri Baptist and next week against Grandview. Now, that comes down to the wire there. Here is the situation, and I'll just tell you briefly. We'll talk about it more next week, especially if it sets up. Grandview 11-0 all-time against Graceland. So take that and with whatever you want to do with that, that's fine. But it could come down if it were a tight game in Des Moines next week. Both teams were undefeated in North play. If Graceland didn't win and Grandview did, but it was tight, maybe that's enough. That would be an 8-3 Graceland team. And we know 8-3 was able to get playoff teams in last season. So we'll see how that one plays out. All right, let's go over to the South now. Mid-America Nazarene has the advantage coming off the absolutely instant classic game last week, 48-47, the win over Benedictine. Nothing in the bag yet, and we know Coach Hansen's squad doesn't think that, because Baker last season definitely let them know that the Wildcats have owned this series between the two. Baker, 26-18 all-time in the series. This is the 45th meeting coming up right now. Baker won 40-7 last year over the Pioneers, set up that three-way tie. That is what the Wildcats would like to do. And Baker's still in an opportunity to make it into the playoffs any way around. So let's look at this. Mid-America Nazarene 8-0 hosting Baker on Saturday. Baker 7-1, 3-1 in conference play. And that game on Saturday, really, is it for all the marbles? Possibly. A Mid-America Nazarene win in that game would be enough to lock in the playoff spot. The magic number at that point would be 1 if Mid-America Nazarene has victories over both Benedictine and Baker. Even if the Pioneers were to lose the season finale, that would still be enough to lock up the playoff spot. So Mid-America Nazarene, magic number is 1 with a win on Saturday. With a loss on Saturday, everything's up for grabs, and it's anybody's guess at that point. Oh, by the way, Benedictine's still hanging around right here. Benedictine 7-2 needs to win out, and everything is in Benedictine's favor there. Taking on Central Methodist, a team that it has beaten 34 of the last 38 opportunities. That's right. The Ravens over the Eagles, 34-4 all-time, the series record between the two, and then close out the season at William Woods in the first ever meeting between the two programs. Benedictine, we believe, has the potential still to be a playoff team and at-large bid. All three of these teams have the potential to be an at-large bid if any one of them doesn't come away with the automatic bid out of the Heart South. So that's why we have them all three in there. All right, moving along to where I know some of the folks who are watching tonight definitely are fans of. Go to the Gpac. Morningside, we believe, is in. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. We believe Morningside is in. One more loss would not preclude the Mustangs from being in the playoffs. But, of course, Morningside has the upper hand right now, having the undefeated record in Gpac play. Now, a big game coming up for Morningside. Well, actually, it's a little bit easier for Morningside because the big games they have taken care of. And for Dort, the victory. Northwestern, the victory last week. Big-time victory. I would not, if you had told me last week that the over-under in the Morningside Northwestern game was going to be 40, I'd have still taken the over. It was half of that. 13-7, the final score. Morningside took care of business on defense, and we know this to be an offensive team. Still an offensive team that can really light things up, but it was the defense that held sway in that game, and weather always can be an issue, but a big-time win for Morningside to show that it can play defense. And that, as far as I'm concerned, it is a statement for the playoffs. I'll go back to last season's playoffs really quickly, and just a side note on that. Kaiser is a strong offensive team, but it was Kaiser's defense last year that really stepped up in the postseason and made it possible for the Seahawks to make that run to the national championship. Morningside making a statement on defense last week against Northwestern, big-time win. And the rest of the schedule has this. Morningside at Waldorf, and the Waldorf Warriors have had a rude welcome to the Gpac. Haven't won a game this year. Morningside's not going to make it easy next week as the Mustangs come to town. That's this Saturday. Morningside closes out the season hosting Dakota Wesleyan. So that's Morningside. And Dale says, yeah, nice to see the defense pull us through. No doubt about that. And I think that's a big key toward a run deep in the playoffs. Dort 7-1, taking on Northwestern this week. This has implications for both Dort and Northwestern. And here's the key number on this game. 17 previous meetings between Dort and Northwestern. Anyone know what the all-time record is? We'll talk about it a little bit and see if someone knows what the all-time record is on that one. Dort taking on Northwestern and Waldorf to try to seal the deal on Waldorf. Waldorf, my goodness, it's rough enough to go over against the conference and then have to close out the regular season against Morningside and Dort. That's way too tough. By the way, Dale Norton says, what's the record there? 17-0? You're exactly right. Looks like a football score, doesn't it? Dort is 0-17 all-time against Northwestern. This could be a huge victory in more ways than one for the defenders if they are able to hold sway at home against Northwestern. And we know these two programs, there is a rivalry there. Proximity makes a big difference in this, but there's a rivalry there. For Northwestern, we think that the Red Raiders may already be on the outside looking in. We think there's still a possibility. One more loss, and Northwestern is most likely on the outside looking in. By the way, we hesitate to use, I say we a lot. I'm sorry. There's just one person on the screen right now talking, but it's the whole Midwest Sportsnet community here at home. And I talk things over, every now and again with the people here in the house. I don't use the word elimination very often, but I think it would be a challenge for Northwestern with one more loss to come in as an at-large bid because they're going to be on the outside looking in. Plus the fact that Concordia is right there as well. The Bulldogs have been nothing short of, I'd say, very good this year. I'm not going to say great just yet because there were a couple of losses on the schedule, but the Bulldogs are very good this year. A bye week this week and closing out the season on the road at Midland, and that could be enough. An 8-2 Concordia team might be an at-large bid. It just depends on how things play out. So keep that in mind. Yeah, Jeff, the defense was amazing for Morningside, and we'll see how it plays out. 2 teams and 2 games for the Mustangs that are winnable games, but Midwest Sportsnet says Morningside is a lock to make the playoffs in top 5 program right now in the rankings, not ratings. All right, let's move over from the Gpac over to the KCAC really quickly. One team on the chart. Nobody else is going to make this. Is a one-bid division, period. It all depends on who's going to come out of it. Ottawa 1-8 right now on the season is going to be on the road at Kansas Wesleyan. This was a big game last year. Ottawa 30-15 all time against Kansas Wesleyan. However, the Coyotes have done what it takes, and this is a season of transition for Kansas Wesleyan as well. 5-4, not a stellar record, but they do have the 3 wins when it came to be Bissell division play. And so we think Kansas Wesleyan is going to push this on in. There's just the one team there in the conference or the division that we're looking at, which is totally different than the other division in the KCAC. The Kessinger is a monster. It's an absolute beast. By the way, hey, listen, let me get this up here really quickly. Dale's got a hop tonight. Great show every single time. Thank you very much, Dale, for being on the broadcast tonight. Sure to appreciate you stopping by. McPherson, 8-1. McPherson, 3-0 in division play. This is the big deal right now. The Bulldogs, and they close out the season. Listen to the schedule. They're hosting Friends and hosting Southwestern. At least they're hosting those 2 teams because that is very, very tough. Both of those teams with 1 loss in divisional play, both of those teams with 1 loss overall, both of those teams trying to make their own statement for the playoffs. McPherson has control of its own destiny, but it's going to be tough. McPherson and Friends playing each other for the 75th time on Saturday, 41-33. Friends with the all-time lead on that one. Evangel 7-1 and hosting Southwestern on Saturday and at Bethel. So you get Friends and McPherson playing each other. You get Evangel and Southwestern playing each other. This is a big weekend for the Kessinger. We think all four teams have a great chance to win the division. And I don't know how you can look at this division. Again, it's going to shake itself out in the next 2 weeks. But I don't know how you look at this division and say, you know what? We're taking only one. And I know there are lots of other people. Well, there's this conference and there's this conference. This division is that good. And to say that it's a one-team division, a one-bid league, I don't know that I agree with that. Anyway, Southwestern, by the way, 0-4 all-time against Evangel. Southwestern on the road at Evangel this week, and Friends and McPherson playing each other. All right, let's move on along. Just a little bit more to go here. Dickinson State, well, they're in. The end. Dickinson State is in. All right, moving on. The Sooner Athletic Conference. Texas Wesleyan, 8-0, 6-0. The big game this week as they host Langston and then on the road at Louisiana Christian. We're not sure that Texas Wesleyan is in anyway. And the reason for that is the precedent that's been set the last 2 years. Texas Wesleyan has had fantastic records. Texas Wesleyan's been on the outside looking in. Texas Wesleyan was literally, and by the way, let me just go ahead and bring this up here really quickly. I do know how to use the word literally. Texas Wesleyan was literally 1 point away from taking the outright championship last year in the Sooner Athletic Conference, and with that would have taken the playoff spot. They did not get that playoff spot, and I'm not sure that even with one loss, Texas Wesleyan makes the Sooner Athletic Conference a two-bid league. Sorry. I'd like to say otherwise for you, Texas Wesleyan. I believe in you. And I'll also go again so far as to say that if Texas Wesleyan goes undefeated, if the Rams take care of business at home against Langston, if the Rams take care of business on the road against Louisiana Christian on the season finale, they deserve a home playoff game in the first game they play, whether it's a first-round game, which it wouldn't be, or a quote-unquote second-round game. That's the first game they're playing. The Rams would deserve to be at home in that playoff game. This is where I normally say nobody in Kansas City asked my opinion, and that's fine, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Seventh meeting, by the way, between Texas Wesleyan and Langston. Langston, the Lions, 4-2 all-time in this series, but Texas Wesleyan won 42-19 last year. And we haven't forgotten, by the way, let's go ahead and bring this back on. We haven't forgotten about the Spirit from Ottawa, 7-1, 6-1 in conference play. It wouldn't be 9-1 because there's a bye week this week, but a win over Panhandle State in Goodwill next week. Could an 8-1 Ottawa team sneak in? It didn't happen last year, so there's no precedent again for any love for the Sooner Athletic Conference from the playoff committee. I know, Joey, they have to win a playoff game. Give them an opportunity to win that playoff game. Ottawa has a very good chance against Panhandle State next week. Not to take away from the Rams. Great program. Coach Miller's doing a fantastic job out there. They're doing well. The Rams have a great opportunity in the next couple of weeks as well. We'll see how it all plays out, but we think they do deserve that opportunity. All right, finally, we get to the conference that I know a lot of people say, well, this is what we've been waiting for. Hey, big game this week is Carroll is going to be on the road at Montana Western for the 117th meeting between these two schools. Carroll, 7-1, 6-0 in the most backloaded schedule in the NAIA this year. Just big game after big game after big game for the Saints. And Carroll, a win here. I'm struggling to say it locks it up, but a win here locks it up. Magic number is 1. If Carroll gets the win here, that means every other team would have at least 2 losses. And so we think Carroll should be in the playoffs anyway. Let me go ahead and say that. Should be anyway. We're not going to give them the lock because 2 losses would be a challenge coming out of this division or this conference. I don't know. But the magic number if the win comes on Saturday, is 1 for Carroll. A win over Montana Western would be able to get it done. It's just the way the schedule works out. Montana Western, our pick, by the way, to take the Frontier Conference in 2024. That was the Midwest Sportsnet pick. Still with an opportunity. 7-1, 5-1 in league play. You get that win over Carroll, and you lock things up, and you do have the upper hand because in a head-to-head matchup, then Montana Western would have the lead there. Southern Oregon and Montana Tech. We think they're on the outside looking in, obviously, for the opportunity for an automatic bid, but we're not counting out Southern Oregon or Montana Tech because they are high enough in the official rankings, not ratings, that they could get that at-large bid winning out. And for Montana Tech to do it, got MSU Northern this week, but it would be hosting Carroll the final week of the season. That could be enough to get Montana Tech back into the playoffs with just 2 losses. We'll see. Oh, by the way, we do believe that College of Idaho is out. So I know that that's a team. So we've gone from 39 teams to just 34 teams that we think has the potential to be a part of the playoff field in the NAIA Football Championship Series this year. I want to say thanks to everyone for watching. We're going to preview this Saturday's games, tomorrow night, 7:30 Central Time, 8:30 Eastern Time, wherever you happen to be watching. Thanks for watching, by the way. And I don't know, what is that, Jeff? You're in Mountain Time, I believe, is where you are. Well, thanks for watching tonight, Jeff and Dave and Dale and Ashton and everyone else that is watching tonight. Sure do appreciate that. We're going to go over the games tomorrow. We'll talk about a couple of things that we talked about tonight, but 46 games on the docket again with NAIA programs. Another big week, some really big games. We'll talk about those as well. By the way, if you haven't seen the videos this week, let me remind you, we had some fun. We've had some good talks this week. We got to talk broadcasting with Kyle Walker, who's the online voice of Mid-American Nazarene. We had a chance to talk with Coach Zeiders coming off that big win over Pikeville. And earlier today, I had a chance to visit with Coach Josh Collins from Division II's Southwestern Bulldogs, as he has won his 200th match as the head coach there for the Lady Dogs, and he's heading into the postseason, currently leading the Great American Conference in the standings in that as well. So we've had some good videos online. We hope that you've had a chance to watch them. Hey, AJ, thanks for watching the show from Texas tonight. Really appreciate that as well. Thanks for stopping by the chat, too. It's always good to get to see where people are watching the show from. I remind you also, again, Thursday night, Sunday night, we'll have the live stream again, talk about the top 5. Hopefully we won't have tornado sirens going off left and right. It throws everything off for us here, but we'll see how that all works out. And then, again, the videos. If you've not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. It really does mean a lot. And I joke about the fact that I don't know what it does for us in the algorithm. That algorithm is a finicky thing. And so I think we have quality content here. We hope as many people as possible get to watch it, but that's there. So please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And we have a chance, an opportunity, if you want to be a part of helping us do what we do here, join as a member. And the outro here that you'll see here in just a moment, we want to say thanks to all of our members, and it gives you a chance to get your name on that outro as well as someone who helps us with what we do. So that is the show for tonight. 34 teams, we believe, actually now 33 teams competing for 19 spots because Dickinson State is in. Thanks again to everybody for watching tonight. God bless you all. Tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time now, and 7:30 Central Time, and we will preview the games ahead. God bless you all. Thanks again for watching, and have a great night.